A toast to musicians, both living and dead, the lords of music. We thank you. We thank you for this alcohol. We thank you for our guitars and our musical journey. Thank you very much. A toast to you all as well. Zach, what musical icon would you like to toast to today?
Before I say that, what are you drinking?
Yeah, no, it's a big straw, dude.
It is a coconut rum punch, basically.
That looks good as hell.
It is good as hell.
My little shot. Now I just feel bad about myself.
Why? Why would you ever feel bad about it?
I'm just kidding. I'm gonna give the shout out to Marty Friedman. I've been listening to some Megadeth lately. Some early Megadeth.
Prabhu, who are you toasting?
I think David Gilmour. I was trying to write a solo recently. I was pretty inspired by David Gilmour for that. So
nice.
That's a good place for inspiration. I will do KK Downing from Judas Priest. And to that, guys, thank you for being here this week. A toast to you and to the Lord's music. All right, so let's get down to it. I know we want to talk about our practicing and our practice structure, but I know Zach has some. I know he has probably some sweet licks this week for us to teach us a thing or two, because we always come to him to learn. Is that how do you make a guitar bark?
Sorry, what?
How do you make a guitar bark?
Barks. Yeah, this thing barks, dude. No,
the sustain.
So we're looking at the key of D minor. And the lick is... And so you can do that in like really a couple different positions. But so if you were playing in D minor... So, if you are playing the power chord position, so I guess this is the A minor position for D minor. So that's 5 on the A string. And if you make that, well, first of all, do you guys like know your pentatonic shapes?
Yeah.
Yes, I do, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Cool. Dope. So it walks up that basic pentatonic shape. You're going to do 5 on the G string to 7. But it's not a slide. It's... And then 6 to 8. And then, so...
6 to 8 on the B string, right?
On the B string, yes, sir. Yep.
Ooh.
So that's the hardest part. So 5 on the B string, and you're gonna bend it up half, and then you're gonna. So like kind of as you pull it up, I don't really think about it in slow motion, but yeah, that was pretty good actually. So you bend, and then you pretty much release as you kind of.
That's all with the index finger.
All of the index. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's the right idea. You got the right idea. Yeah. So like I kind of think of it like legato coming up. Like I don't pick it all. I mean, you can't. And actually, I think if you hybrid pick, so I pick the first string, and then I go with my middle finger, I think it makes it a lot more expressive sounding.
You get that snap.
You know what I'm saying?
Get that snap.
It's like simple but very precise. So it's like
it's very like it's very technique oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. There was that it's the major lick that I think you played where there's like very precise like taking care of the notes, right? Is it the major lick that you play where you have to take? Can you play the major lick? I think you normally play it in A major.
From last week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like being very precise and careful with like just that specific, just very precise and careful with your movements.
I think on top of that, like a lot of it, like really the sound of it comes from the picking hand. Because if you just pick it all like versus like, and like same with the major lick, just like picking it like with dynamics, like versus like just kind of changes the feel of it entirely, I think.
Why'd you pick that riff this week? Is it something that you've been using a lot and you're playing? Where does it come from specifically?
I actually, when you were playing that riff last week in D minor, I was just kind of like sitting in the back, just kind of jamming with it, and I was like, that'd be a good lick to like play over to show you guys next week. But I also, I was playing the song Gold Dust Woman by Fleetwood Mac, which I hadn't even heard that song until like 3 weeks ago, but I keep messing up, but I was playing it at a gig, I think it was last weekend. I was just kind of messing around with like harmonic minor and melodic minor. Just like that kind of thing.
Nice. I mean, I really like the half step bend. I really like the I'm a big fan of like using like the second in a scale. So like since you're playing in D minor, that note that you bend is the second. I really like the use of that because and especially that bend from the second to the third. It's a very subtle half step bend that can be. I know I always have trouble with bends in general and hitting the right note. I feel like somehow I kind of do the best with those sometimes, but it's very expressive in the way where since it's such a subtle shift instead of like a full bend, it's such a subtle shift that it really paints like that flavor in your riff. So I really dig this one.
Sweet. Glad you like it.
Prabhu, any comments?
No, it sucks.
Let's hear Mr. Blues Man.
No, I know. I was just like, what's funny is, to me, of all the riffs that you've showed, this is, to me, what I think, I guess I approach it less bluesy with because that thing that part actually reminds me a lot of like Indian classical music. There's an instrument my grandma used to play called the veena, which is like the way they do vibrato. I think we were talking about vibrato one of the episodes where we were talking about how like doing it as like the doorknob kind of thing versus like doing it like a violin, like the sliding kind of thing into it, and it's like that little like twitch motion almost, or whatever it is. Reminds me of like Indian classical music. So it's funny because I'm like, oh, that's not very bluesy to me. It's like very like classical or sad sounding or something.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of times in music, you're not really using that second a lot, and like a lot of like probably straightforward blues, you kind of stick to the wouldn't really go that note, that second in it just sounds like kind of at times can sound very very whack. It just doesn't. It's just like you're painting it too dark, maybe because it comes from the natural minor. Because like I feel like in a lot of blues, you might use the tritone. You might use You might that would be like in D minor. That would be the sixth in the scale.
Dorian
and
or whatever.
Yeah, and that'd be what is that? When you use that major sixth, is that melodic or harmonic? Or technically, it's both, right? Because like melodic and harmonic.
Both.
Melodic.
That's beyond me for music theory.
Well, melodic and harmonic both raise the sixth or make it a major sixth, and then one of them makes also a major seventh in the scale. So that's just all I know.
I think it's harmonic. Harmonic minor has the major seventh.
Okay.
There's like
the really important facts.
Yeah.
I think of it
Minutia.
more in terms of like I think of some of the scales more in terms of like the guitarists that use them, like Slash. I know I'm the first one to reference Slash on this show this time. That's like a new. I think that's a new best. But like that one that's like that one that like I feel like that is very. I don't know if it's melodic or harmonic. I always confuse those two, but I feel like that November Rain and part of like that part. I feel like
it's really odd to hear you sing it when you have like a guitar in your hand.
Oh, I know. I don't know how to play it.
I know we don't all know. I don't know it.
I can play it very robotically, I guess. Like I can play it like a Guitar Pro MIDI file, but but yeah, that's a cool riff.
Yeah, it makes. I like how you tied it back to the last episode, because I think it ties into like talking about like practice and stuff, and how one of the elements that like I practice. I think I practice more when I'm like gigging and everything, is like improvising, and it seems like that really just came from like improvising. So I think we're gonna switch over to talking about practice. But first, I think you have a new guitar in your hands, Mr. Haynes.
Les Paul Standard. Thank you by someone. This is my literal first time playing it, and so far I like it.
So tell us more about it. Like, how do you have a cherry red Les Paul, right? Is that like the 490 pickups in it?
Yeah, I think it's 490s.
Okay, and then you have,
and then I have the P90s like equivalent. Like they're the same, like 50 standards except for the pickups. I think everything else is identical.
Okay. So this is more similar to your gold top as far as feel. Is it just a standard like cutaway in the back? Is there a hand notch or extra finishing, or just standard neck and everything?
Same old.
Awesome, awesome binding again.
I love it. Yeah. It's my first time holding this guitar, and I love it. I don't want to sell it, but
it looks
so shiny.
You're just gonna keep collecting.
I know. Look how shiny it is, though. Dude.
I know.
So, like at first, it's really funny. Until I had that gold top in my hands, I was like, Gibson Les Paul standards are awesome, but I don't know that I ever want to pay that much just for the glossy finish. But now that I'm looking at myself holding the glossy finish, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I need another one of these.
We need to make a meme of you at like Frodo when he's at the Mount Doom and he's holding the Gibson Les Paul and he's like, cast it into the fire, and he's like, no, it's mine. Zach trying to flip guitars.
Yeah.
So for real, are you actually going to try to sell this one, or like just picking it up now is probably going to stay with you forever?
No, I'm going to sell it. I can't afford to not sell it. Either I'm going to sell it or I'm going to lose all of my guitars because I won't be able to pay my mortgage. So, I guess I'll sell it. If I have to.
I feel like this is like really in the name of the show. It's just like we have so many conversations about like, oh, I want this guitar, I want that guitar. And I think you do the most dangerous thing, Zach. You actually buy guitars to try to sell them, And like, I just know from my standpoint, I don't think I've bought guitars where I knew I might eventually get rid of it just because I felt like maybe I would have too many in my collection, and that I get a real like concern of like, am I using it? Am I not using it? So that's normally why I may sell a guitar. It's like, I'm not really using it. Like, I'd like this to get some love from someone else in the world, right? You run the dangerous like business of, I'm going to buy this not because I love it, but because I want to sell it. But you buy the ones that you would easily love, like a psychopath.
See, here's the funny thing. I literally started doing this like the week after our first podcast. Like, I'm still really new to this. I just was like,
this is our doing.
Yeah.
So you may lose the mortgage after all.
Like, coincidentally, I was like, I'm going to start flipping guitars right now. And up until like 3 weeks ago or something like that, I had never sold a guitar because I was just like, I can't part with it because I played it freaking once. So now I'm emotionally attached. But now I sold 2 of my own personal guitars.
Wait, which ones did you sell?
I sold one with the kill switch.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I remember you.
And then I just sold my Strat like 2 weeks ago because I just never used it.
Fair enough, man. You could have put some Hot Rails in it like me.
We could make this show a platform for you to sell your guitars. Just like do a giveaway, a sweepstakes played by Mid-Michigan's number 5 Zach Hayes.
Number 5 Zach Hayes.
I like how you just suggest sweepstakes. Like, this is his money.
Right.
Give it away.
Come on, Zach. We need you to keep buying some. We gotta generate the ROI, man.
Les Paul?
I know, man. We gotta generate some revenue on this. Come on, Zach.
Nah, dude, I'm too broke. Let's get sponsored first.
Yeah. No, I think we should all take one guitar that we flip. Like, you can be the Les Paul guy. I have to do something super niche that I don't like because I would do the same. Like, it'd have to be like Squire Jazz Masters or something, like just some random thing that like I probably won't like, and just or like Telly's. Maybe I'm sure if I found the right one, I'll be like, oh fuck, no,
I gotta keep it. Yeah, well, like especially if you buy a guitar that you've never owned, like a type of guitar, then you're gonna be like,
yeah, I need one of these.
Like you'll be like, maybe I should keep it so I have a Telly now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I thought that about Flying V's, and now I kind of want one. It kind of like I never thought I would, and that's not true. I've thought about it here and there, but then it's that thing that I'm like, nah, it's not. But I know if I got one, I'll at least keep one because like you need one.
My question is what guitars have you sold in the past? So Zach, you've sold a Strat before, so you know. In some way, you're not going to get too attached to a Strat, right?
I know that now because I sold my Strat. Well, okay, listen to this, though. So I sold my Strat 3 weeks ago. I have played that thing 3 times. No, okay, probably 6 times total. Like, I'm talking picked it up off the rack and played it for 6 occasions out of the past 3 or 4 years. Like, it's literally been sitting there.
So you know what you want.
So you know what you don't like. You're not a fan of Strats. Do you feel like if you got another Strat, you would end up keeping it?
Yeah, but I was like, I don't want to sell it because, like, what if I'm going to play a Strat someday? Like, it was a really stupid rat. Like, it was dumb. Like, I don't use it. You know what I'm saying? And, like, on top of that, like, I wasn't in love with, like, the color and stuff. Like, it was just like, it was a Strat. I had a Strat. Maybe someday I'll play my Strat, but I didn't. So then finally, after it took selling that other Les Paul, which I was really reluctant to do because I loved the kill switch in it. But like I was like, you know what? It's just the guitar, dude. Just sell it. And then I sold it. And now I have no problem. Except I might have a problem selling this one. And I definitely won't ever sell the gold top now. And so
You'll have a threshold that's just higher for Les Pauls. That'll be like, whereas for Strats you could maybe see yourself having one, but for Les Pauls, there's always going to be a base of 5 that you'll own. But like after that, that's when you were like, this is getting a little excessive. I need to really Mary Kondo my guitar collection.
See, with Les Pauls, I don't know that that's true. I could own so many Les Pauls just because I love them.
I feel like
I love them all equally.
P90, I could get into that. I mean, like, I feel like I feel like the double cutaway, since I grew up playing one, and since it's such a unique, like, random Les Paul to have, and a lot of people hate them, I really like the double cutaway because of that uniqueness, because it's a guitar I grew up playing a lot. Yeah. So I could see myself, like, there's like the P90 double. I actually bought a P90 double cutaway from like the tribute models that they had, but it was like really weird. It was like a weird point in time where, like, I bought it and I was like expecting like a certain amount of satisfaction that, like, I feel like I used to get from buying guitars as younger, but I think it wasn't like the right call. Like, I just didn't feel good about it. I just felt like this didn't solve whatever problem I was having buying this guitar. Yeah. Like, maybe would have. So I ended up just like returning it, but I feel stupid because I could definitely see myself buying that guitar again, especially since I had P90s. But I could see like a double cutaway being like the set of guitars that I could have a few of. I could see that with like a Les Paul. I mean, I think they're fantastic. They feel great. I mean, easily style-wise from a humbucker guitar, I like, I like these humbuckers a lot. I would never change these out of this guitar. I could see myself getting a Les Paul or humbucker guitar with EMGs, and then I like my double cutaway now because it has coil tapping. So, or not coil tapping, coil splitting. Yeah. So because it has that, so I could see myself having different humbucker guitars, not necessarily all Les Pauls. The one guitar, and the reason why I asked you what guitar have you sold and you've been okay with, and you said the Strat. The reason why I asked you that is because I was thinking for myself. The one guitar, don't get me wrong, loved it. Gibson Explorer, I had one like since high school, but
I remember that
like a couple of years ago. Yeah. I came over and played it with you one time.
Yep.
They're amazing guitars, beautiful white Gibson Les Paul. But typically you have to keep it in a hard shell case because that's the best place to keep it, or on a stand. And at the time, I didn't really keep it on a stand. And so since it was always in its case, I didn't play it as much. And then especially when I got this guitar, I really stopped playing it because I was like, I'm not going to go get it out of the case to play humbuckers. I can just play this. And then I got this also just because it's easier to gig with than an Explorer. Beautiful guitar. But when it came down to playing it enough, it became your Strat situation. It's like, I played this maybe 3 times in the last year.
So your question, what guitars have I sold?
Yeah. So like basically Zach was able to part with a Strat because for Strat. I was able to part with an Explorer because I was like, I love it, but also I don't play it that much because it's always in its case. So I was like, all right, I can get away with selling this. So I could see myself being an Explorer curator. What do you see as the guitar you could get rid of?
I mean, the guitar I've sold the most. So I have a tied track history for selling Strats and Les Pauls. But so Strats are unfair because they were cheap Strats. So like the first Strat I sold was the first Strat I sold was a like knockoff.
Did you sell to Zach?
No, Zach
thumbs down because you sold the Les Paul.
And Zach actually used to help me set that Les Paul up. That was a nice I do miss that Les Paul, I will say.
Which, the Epiphone or the
Epiphone, the orange one I had. I do miss that one from time to time. I don't so okay, here's the thing. So I don't think I would be good at getting Les Pauls. I'd still have fun with them. The thing with Les Pauls is I would find them fine as a studio guitar. I don't like playing live with them. I don't find them comfortable.
Blasphemy.
Standing up.
Blasphemy.
I'm a
best guitar standing up,
dude. It's so. I would get a Les Paul Special 2 or whatever it's called. The most fun Les Paul I've ever played is the Epiphone Les Paul Special 2. It's like a $150 guitar. It's like super thin.
Wait, it's a special, so it only has 2 pickups, not 1.
Yeah, it has 2 pickups. Not the Junior.
I had a Special 2 Junior. Yeah. No doubt, it was a dope guitar.
No, I'm sure it's fine. It's not got the bells and whistles, but it's thin, it's slim, and like I liked that about. I actually loved the Les Paul, the Epiphone Les Paul, and the ESP were very different guitars. I got the ESP because I wanted something lighter, more shreddy, more metal, and the ESP is a great guitar. I don't regret selling it, but I do I think the ESP, I could get a more similar guitar that's not a Les Paul that plays like it. Whereas the Epiphone Les Paul played more like like it had a little chunkier thing. The neck was round. Like the ESP was basically the shape of Les Paul, but with all the specs of like a shreddy modern whatever guitar.
Yeah, because it also had like the neck notch, like the profile of the neck was like tapered at
yeah,
the
it was
body.
like a tapered neck, 24 frets, EMGs, the whole metal. It's a very metal guitar. And I actually loved at the Epiphone, like the sound of it, like the sound I miss a lot. Like that clean tone on it was just great. And I do miss how it plays. And actually the Gretsch guitar that Haley has is a single cutaway. That kind of reminds me of a Les Paul, but I think I could probably sell Les Pauls. But like the other thing is, I never owned a Gibson, and like I'm sure playing so I kind of want to buy a Gibson one day and try that out because it's like trying. I feel like the times I've tried, like I think I've tried Zach's Les Pauls, and I was like, oh, this feels really nice, and it's a lot chunkier, and I like the sound of it a lot. And even the playing is fine. It's just standing up and like I don't know, some of the
being cool. You can't stand up and be
comfortable.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
wait, Zach, you play with a lower strap too, right?
I mean, relatively.
But like your arm isn't angled, right? It's like more.
Not doing the Tom
as you're getting older.
I was gonna say like it's definitely progressively getting higher, especially as I start like trying to play things that are more like they have higher levels of technical requirement, like more shreddy things. I'm like, crap, I have to raise this.
Mine's been the opposite. So like
I kind of agree with you. That shit happens to me. I've raised it like a little bit. I'm just like,
it hurts.
Keith Richards and Slash would kill me right now.
What's crazy
feel like wrinkles popping in your face, like.
I was having back problems with my old Les Paul, but the thing that actually helped with it was the opposite, was keeping it really low. So for me, playing it really low, it was a lot less tension on my shoulder. But the problem was that because it's heavier, because I only found it comfortable playing really low. I don't like playing it really low, and where the with a Strat you can get away with like the neck feeling a little lower, but the horn is up here, so it kind of hangs the guitar. So like even my Ernie ball, I don't wear it super high or super low, but it like hangs and doesn't. I don't know. I don't have to like with my Les Paul. When I played, I was like angling it up like this, and like, or it was like I feel
like I have the exact opposite problem. Like a Strat, I cannot play that low. Like that it has to be middle, maybe a little high.
No, so I could play it middle, but it wasn't like super high or super low. Whereas the Les Paul felt like I either went really low with it or really high with it, and then high would be really just like this is a lot.
Tom Morello.
And for even the Tom Morello, I think that playing it really high, it feels better on like a Strat or so. Like my SG, I played pretty low, but like it's so light that like I can I don't know, wrangle.
I feel like I've started fantasizing about SGs. Like it's definitely been in my search history a lot more because I like humbuckers, and like it's like I like humbuckers, and then I also like in general I do like double cutaways. Like I get away with like Les Paul most days, but sometimes like when I'm up here, like I just feel like ooh, it's kind of nicer on my Strat or my other double cutaway. And since like Gibson doesn't really, it's so like hit or miss trying to find a good double cutaway Les Paul. I was like, I should probably just find a good double cutaway SG and match Prabhu.
So, well, the thing is, I want to try. So I think the SG Special, the one I have, is also a little different too because it's got that slim neck and whatnot. And like, I feel like it does feel very different than the other like even the Epiphone that I had. Like that Les Paul, like it had the chunkier feel. Like, so this guitar, I don't find it necessarily as comfortable for soloing. That's not really what I'm doing anyways. And I love the Ernie ball for that, but like this one, it's just fast for like the down tuning fast riff stuff. So like, I don't know. I do feel like the Les Paul felt nice for soloing and doing like, it had more resonance and it had like, I don't know, the way I did like that about the Les Paul, and I can't speak to a lot of other SGs. I want to try the SG standards and that kind of stuff, but that's something that like we also play pretty different styles, so you might not like it for doing soloing and that kind of stuff. But like if Angus Young can do it, then like
Angus,
yeah, I mean like
KK Downing, Tony Iommi,
Allman Brothers.
Allman Brothers. The Allman Brothers play SGs?
I thought so.
No, I'm just not familiar with them enough to know. Who's the other SG player I was thinking about? Derek Trucks?
Yeah, Derek Trucks.
Plenty of people.
Zach Wild.
He plays an SG?
He does. He does Zach Sabbath.
Oh, is it like a weird, like black and white, like
honestly,
EMGs and the like.
It's not at this point. It's his own like brand. Well, it's not his own brand. Like it's his Wild Audio series, and they don't have like the purple one anymore. It's like only limited, and you had to be like a VIP at one of the Zach Sabbath gigs to get it. So it was actually a pretty good deal for like being a VIP because you pay all that money. But you basically paid like mostly for the guitar and then like $100 extra just to be at VIP. So it's kind of not a bad deal for like a very limited run SG that he makes. But I just think it looks badass. And with that's also what inspires me. Not gonna lie.
So side note, while we've been talking, been doing some finger exercises and practicing. So that was.
So he's saying he wasn't listening to anything.
Let's talk about practicing.
Let's get back on topic here.
Sorry, Zach had his notebook last week, and that's what made us all interested in practicing. But let's start off with your practice routine.
Oh no!
No, let's start with you. Nope, we're starting with you, Prabhu. Go.
All right, I know
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's see. I think we probably practice pretty different things. So, like for me, I don't. Most of my practicing, I think, is alt picking kind of stuff, and like it's like one of the practice routines I started doing. I saw a video of Misha Mansour doing is just for alt picking stuff. It's just triplets. And then you just keep doing that, and then when you're done with that string. Yeah, and then when you're done with that, you just go to the next string.
So it sounds like you keep in this case you're keeping it in A minor, right?
Yeah, generally. You can do it in any.
But you keep it in a scale, and then you kind of like shift up and down.
No, more than the scale, I do it on a fret. So I start. It's the 5. So I'm doing. And then. So it's not actually A minor. It's just going down that. Like the first note is always going to be on that 5th fret. It's the same shape.
Okay. So it's the same shape.
Yeah, and then you'll go up, and then you'll start that same pattern, but on the next string. And then another one that I do is just chromatics. It's very simple, but it helps with. But I do it kind of like a legato, like. But going backwards is so hard. I can't do that at all. I can't do that. And then just like stupid little alt picking stuff like that. Like that Meshuggah song has become now a practice thing for me. Like it's just become a thing to warm up. But so one thing I didn't do before, and now I try to do it because it's how you should learn things, is play slow and consistent and then speed it up. Because like how I learned a lot of guitar was less of practicing and more of playing along to things. So like, I mean, my practice routine was just the whole Toxicity album, or like the Hypnotize or Mesmerize, just playing along, keeping it playing, and then just trying to play along with it. And then that kind of ties into what we were saying about learning songs accurately. Like, I didn't really learn them accurately. I just learned them by ear. So I trained my ear well, but it's not 100% accurate. But I also didn't practice it like slowed down.
Yeah.
I was just fucking flailing through it at full speed for like a year. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of got it. But now I'm trying to like practice like to a click slow. And
so do you like practice with a metronome and everything?
I do that more now, and the so recording honestly made me a lot tighter with playing because I didn't practice with the metronome. I was just recording things, and that taught me to play louder. I noticed my picking was very soft. Someone told me that it sounded like I was just whispering the notes. And I was like, huh. So I started like, and especially with the metal kind of stuff, like the really digging and like just really digging in and like that. I mean, one of the things you can do that I never do, but with practicing while recording, you can kind of see the transients of your like,
yeah,
and see how they line up with like the beat. And that's something you can always like analyze. I don't do that. I'm pretty lazy. I don't really. I mean, I do
feel
that.
Like that's lazy though. I feel like that's like I only have so much time to do this.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, I want to make progress on the actual recording and not just progress of I can play perfectly on time.
Yeah,
and then
I mean,
you die and
well,
I didn't finish recording.
It depends on the purpose, though. If you're going in, the recording can be a good tool to actually see how you're doing. If you're going in, like I don't go in for the purpose of the practicing that way. It's like I end up doing that when I inevitably just because like I'll be editing this guitar and lining it up, and I'm like, I always play really rushed. Like I tend to play fast things, especially mostly solo kind of stuff, rushed. So like I'll kind of fine tune things that way. But like I said, I very rarely use that as an analytical tool. But yeah, I mean, practicing certain songs. I mean, like I just have a couple of riffs that I always practice that are like my riffs that I just go back to just because like they, I don't know, encompass most of the things I like doing on the guitar. Like that one riff I showed you the other time, like.
Is that like a tip you use that to practice like for years?
So I mean, I wrote that in like 2016. I mean, one of the.
So it has been used. So wait, play us like one or two of the riffs that you use to practice, including that one, because I think that one's always slow.
So this one I wrote in like 2013, and I use this, and I'm working on my new song. I've put it out for a different thing before, but like I'm re-recording this now. But I use this song as like a practice. I'll just play it through because it's like 7 years old at this point. So it's like I know it. I can play it in my sleep. So it's with my old Les Paul, it was like Papa Roach. But yeah, I like that one because it's a full song and practice it, but it kind of goes through a lot of different things. It does a lot of like the like drop D with like melodic, like adding a chord that has like a note on it, like the not just like a drop chord,
creating a melody with the chord.
Yeah, so it does that. It's got the. I mean, that's it. I do that. That actually came, I think, from a just like a little practice routine I did. So sometimes those practice routines become a riff, or vice versa. So like I do that a lot as a practice thing. Is like 0, 3, 7, like a lot of triplet exercises. I do this in drop tuning. You can do it in anyone, but. And then you can move it up. And then you can change the intervals, and that becomes a riff of like. So like,
where did you pick that up? Is that just something that you found out yourself, or you listened to something?
A lot of lonely years in high school of not having. No, I think
just having sweat socks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this. Well, so it's kind of from Okay, so there's this.
How did we get good at guitar? Because we just didn't hang out with people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was ninth grade. That one is. I think it was in a lot of. I think the music I listened to, a lot of like the hardcore, a lot of like metalcore kind of stuff. There's this band called Rawsome, which is a Nintendo core band. They do like metalcore stuff, but it's all MIDI Nintendo soundy stuff. But one of their songs is just like this arpeggiated thing on a synth that's just like, or something like that, and then, but like those kind of things. I mean, they're also simple intervals, just like in drop D, because like if you're doing
because now you're D, your A, and D are.
Yeah, I'm not changing it by
have
string.
An octave. And yeah, I'm not have like the fifth.
Exactly. I'm not changing it by string, so they become kind of like the picking isn't that crazy. The picking is just like.
So you're basically cheating. You're not good.
Yeah, but I mean it's exactly. But it like I think it comes from hearing it in a certain thing, and then it just becomes like a more natural like. I don't know. To me, that feels. It looks crazy, but like the intervals are pretty natural in terms of how you'd write. Like they're chords that you'd use a lot. So I think that those, yeah, that's definitely a thing I practice a lot. But like before playing, or just those like those kind of things. But yeah, I don't really. In the last 2 years, I started. Practicing because I wasn't great at soloing, so I started doing like finding YouTube backing tracks for different genres, and then just keep them like in a queue and just literally just I don't know what's next, just play to that genre. Just like they'll be some of the best ones I think are like funk, like the funky like neo soul kind of stuff, because they do really weird like. And weird stuff where you're like, ooh, like it kind of forces you out of like the typical.
A lot of that stuff too, right? Is that are you trying to follow the chord, or does it repeat like the several chords like a lot so you can have
it's like chord? It'll be like a 20 to 30 second unique loop, and then maybe they might have like verse, chorus, bridge, but it's not like a song where it takes different routes and goes somewhere unpredictable. Even if it goes to chorus and stuff like that, for like it's always going to be like a 30 second to 1 minute, like defined loop that'll go for like 10 minutes, 12 minutes or something. And then playing that on repeat, to me, I mean, my first thing was to honestly just start playing and to just get out. Because I think for me, I think too much, and I don't think I let myself feel solos. So like I don't really. I'm just like
I am a robot.
Yeah, I'm like
dude.
Yeah, please feed me the MIDI file, and I shall play this with that. Yeah, but I think those songs it kind of made me just like I just use it as a time to be like, you know what, I'm gonna try this lick. Do you ever visualize something and you're like, ooh, I want to try that like run, and you like see the frets beforehand, and then you do it, and then you're like, so I'm trying to take that leap of faith where I'm like, maybe that'll sound good, and then eat shit, and then be like, okay, well, I'm playing in my room, it doesn't matter. And so I think building that confidence, and then also finding like, well, chord changes, and like that's something I've been trying to pay attention to, is like in a chord progression, like how I'm trying to write solos is trying to figure out like when does it, if it like changes to that, like hitting that note in the solo to line up with that so it like matches the chord changes, even if I'm playing in the same key, like trying to structure solos and that kind of, and I suck at that. And so those are all like not structured practice routines, but things I've been paying attention to when I practice in the last year or two.
The chord change thing and paying attention to how the chord changes and trying to hit something of that chord is a great way. And I remember you were also talking about trying to write solos recently, and because I've also done the same thing. One of the things, well, yeah, but you're doing it and you're going to finish it. Like it's just going to happen. But one of the things I've paid attention to also, and I think this kind of ties into like a comment Zach said about him being a drummer, so he thinks about guitar playing very rhythmically. I've, especially like working on like a metal song, I've thought a lot about when am I hitting certain notes, not necessarily what note I hit, but at what time do I hit it? And so I've broke down a lot of the song that I'm working on with you, Prabhu, Iron and Bones. I broke down like, okay, on what beats, at what times am I hitting some of the notes in the riff? Can I hit those at the same time in the solo to kind of accentuate those points and like really kind of create some space? Because I think sometimes that can be a problem, especially with metal, is like not creating space. Like there are a couple metal songs that you think of. I think of Bark at the Moon all the time, but that song, like there is crazy. That's by Ozzy Osbourne. Okay. Jake E. Lee played the guitar originally on it, but he really creates like these really amazing chaotic moments. But then he balances that out with creating some breathing room in there and like really thinking about phrasing. So
yeah, that's the thing that a lot of like shred stuff doesn't do. And actually, that the other thing I do is I think I mentioned a different thing about Django Reinhardt about being a pretty big influence for me in listening to his music. And part of what really inspires me about him is that he only has two fingers, but he plays so much. But his note selection is really smart with the two fingers and limited, but I think it's the thing that adds to his, why he's so good at writing a solo, because he can just choose the right notes. And I think that was something I started doing a long time ago, is practicing with like soloing with like just those two fingers, and try to just write with two fingers. And if a solo sounds good with two, you don't need like, to add everything. It's like use the other ones as like an additional thing if you want to like add some flair, but not like, I don't know, like you said, not create like if you're not allowing breathing room or space. Sometimes that's cool, but I don't know.
That's so interesting because I'm always been like a 4-finger player. Like that was like taught to me, I think, because like my dad can kind of play, like he kind of played guitar, so he was the first one to kind of show me anything. But like he instilled in me to be a 4-finger player as opposed to a 3-finger player, and no one's really a 2-finger player unless you're Django Reinhardt or probably.
I've seen people play chords like this, and I'm like, "What are you doing?
How do you
do that?" Like
that sounds that seems terrible. Don't really kill yourself. Please live.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh wow, Kanem."
That just seems
ruined our chance of putting this happen.
Yeah, right.
It's bound to happen. Come on. But that I've always been a 4-finger player, so like it's really interesting to think. I mean, like I'll selectively pick fingers if I'm moving up and down the fretboard, but I don't like think to be. I'm gonna only use like 2 fingers going up and down. Like if I were to use any two, it'd be like my index and my ring. I wouldn't like choose to use my middle finger. Yeah.
To me, it's these two or the pinky. I use my pinky a lot. This one I need to learn from you guys how to use my ring, because like,
oh come on, what about the pentatonic?
Well, that's exactly. I use my pinky. So like on that last note, you use your. That's something I've had to.
I use my pinky.
Oh, see, because I heard that like,
depends on what I'm doing.
Because so like I thought, I don't know if I'd read about it or just like was noticing in a lot of players I like why like them using like their ring finger for it, and then that allows you to like it allows you to like reach up and do extra stuff. But like even my chords, I use my pinky for like for power chords. I use my pinky very frequently. That's something I've been trying to unlearn and like. And I think that comes from I always play power chords as the full 3. I don't do that ever now, but yeah, no, the 4-finger thing. Trying to become more of a 3-finger player and use the pinky more sparingly.
Oh man, it's all about the pinky. All right, Zach, you practiced. You had a book. Do you have the book with you, or will you tell us your secrets?
You're gonna sell the book.
Are you gonna sell the
Do you
book?
want to buy my book? No.
The show is just trying to help
It's
Zach
just
get
a
his
journal,
mortgage
dude.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
no,
just a
I think that's
journal.
really you inspired me to do the same thing, but I want to see your journal. I don't have
Wow.
my journal with me.
You guys are so organized with your like writing down riffs and stuff.
Dude, just wait, okay? Like, I'm kind of a psychopath.
That's why I called you a psychopath earlier. What?
Yeah.
Game recognized game. Psychopath recognized psychopath.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Like, practice for me it's an evolving process, and it's like every year I have a practice routine where I'm like, this is the best one yet. Like, this is it. This is the ultimate practice routine.
This is the new update to practicing.
You know what I'm saying, though? But, like,
yeah.
I'd say, like, in 2000, and I'm sorry if I end up going off on, like, a tangent with all this, but, like,
give us the backstory, man. We want to hear this. Your origin story, your practice origin story.
My practice origin.
I'm very curious with that too, because I feel like of all three of us, you've played the guitar for the least amount of time, and you are arguably.
Why I gotta put that out loud and out there?
Well, you
making us look at windows like this. Yeah, this looks like the window to jump through right now.
Yeah, man. All this talk about death.
Yeah, but okay. To counter that point, how many hours a week would you say that you practice?
Exactly. So that's why I think it's great to hear from you on this.
15 minutes a day at least, like minimum 15 minutes a day.
50 or 15?
15, 1-5.
Okay.
Minimum. So sometimes it's longer. I skip some days, but minimum 15.
So I am, and maybe it's just because like I'm an optimist, to be honest, but like I'm a firm believer that anyone can get at like you can be as good at somebody else at something if you put it in the same amount of time and you practice with intent. Because I've spent so much time like standing in my shower for like 2 hours just thinking about these stupid thoughts, but like before I have coffee or something, but like there's like that saying that like once you hit like 10,000 hours of doing something, like you're the master of it. You know what I mean?
You got your 10,000 in.
But like if you put in 10,000 hours just literally playing eighth notes on the low E string, you're going to be the master of playing eighth notes on the low E string. You know,
I don't know, but like,
what tempo?
Like there's more to it than that saying. Like they say like,
yeah,
like yes, but like that's where intent comes in, and like
there's a big
having like
next to
like
it.
that's why I think like having a direction with practice is really important too.
Right.
And I would say before 2016, and at this point I wasn't really that serious of a guitar player either. But like when I would go to practice something, I didn't necessarily have a reason for practicing it. You know what I mean? Or like I'd go to try to improve on something, but I wouldn't walk in with like a goal. I'd just be like, okay, I need to get better at this. And then I would play it, and then I hit my breaking point, and that was it. And I just would get to like these plateaus, and everyone has plateaus, and then you just don't break out of them. And then a lot of the time you're like, crap, like I don't feel inspired anymore because I suck. So then you just don't practice, you know what I mean? And
when you say plateaus, what makes you think of is Bruce Lee's quote about like, in life there are no in life you reach plateaus, but you must not stay there for long. You must go further, or something like that is the phrase.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally a thing. Like I think plateaus can probably be mental or physical, because like obviously if I go to play something, like if I go to play Dragon Force right now, I can't. Physically, I cannot play Dragon Force.
I feel like you could.
No,
like mentally,
physically
you can. Mentally, you cannot. Physically, you can.
Physically, I can't. Mentally, I can't. No. But like
metaphorically, you can. Spiritually, you would like to.
Physically or mentally.
Emotionally, not ready.
I'm gonna put it down.
Emotionally, not ready.
I'm just gonna put this down. Physically or mentally, I cannot play Dragon Force at this point in my life, and that's okay. That's fine. But like that's the point.
Not.
So like, there's a point where you're like practicing the same thing over and over again. You're like, why am I not getting better? And you just sit there and you chill, and it sucks. Have you guys experienced that? I've experienced that.
Yeah, of course. That's when I started playing drums for the first time. I felt like I was like, all right, I can play guitar. I'm kind of getting bored of this a little bit. Like, let me go play drums because my brother has a drum set. And then I came back to guitar after that.
I think what's helped me view the plateauing different too is seeing like, I think how I gauge getting better. So like, I think my something that's changed over time, maybe it's to reassure myself, but like when I was learning guitar, it was just like, can I play faster? Can I play this song? But like now I understand a lot more what I'm doing on the guitar, or just like theory is a little less intuitive, and I understand theory better now. And I think those kind of things are, I can play and write more intentionally now. Like I might, you know, I think now if I'm jamming with people and they're playing something very different, I could learn it much faster. And I think that sometimes I don't gauge myself as having improved unless I've like have a tangible like new skill versus fine tuning a previous skill. And I think I don't know with the time thing, if that actually, if I, because like I used to think, you know, more time I put into something, but like I feel like I put in so much wasted time into certain things, or not wasted, but not as productive time. Like even with recording, I spent like a year not knowing how to like set up the audio interface or something in my thought, and like very simple things like Googling and like just and not hitting my head against the same wall every time. Or like with guitar, that like now I play a little more intentionally but more mindfully. Like when I hit a roadblock, I'm like, oh, that's a roadblock because of this, and like I need to work on this. So then I can just pay attention to it. Versus like before, I'd be like, but if I just keep playing, I'll get it one day. And then like that's when I feel like I plateau, is when I push through too much. And the best thing sometimes is just to not do it, or to like dissect it and do it like smarter.
I think intention plays a big role in it. So so with that intention, is that like every time you sit down to practice, you take you say you write in your journal beforehand to set up your intention, right?
Well, okay. So before I get to that,
sorry,
backtrack more. And I think
this book.
I think the first
for more you can pay a humble fee of $50.
For more, yeah. Subscribe to my
for part 2.
Your only fans.
My guitar only fans.
There's just a nude in the centerfold.
It's pictures of my naked guitar. Just like no strap, no clip-on tuner.
Took off the finishing even.
Pickups are out.
just stripped of all electronics.
You take pictures of trees, right?
Yes.
Raw.
Yes. Oh yes.
There's
a market for everything, right?
Yeah, Zach Hazelwood.
Anyways, I'm not going to go there. Before you go there, I'm going to stop you. First part of intention is putting yourself in a place mentally where you start. Well, okay. It's hard to say enjoy practice or look forward to practice, because there's days. I feel bad for you now. There's days where I don't want to practice, straight up. But like pretty much ingraining internally like the importance of practice and like understanding why you're practicing and like seeing your end goal, like that kind of carries you through those days. And up until like 2016, I would have spurts of practice. And I'd say 2015 was when I got into like my first band. Maybe it was 2016, I think I got into my first band, and like I had like a list of songs, and I would just practice the song. Like I would devote 10 minutes to like each song, but I had no intention to it. I would just kind of run through them, and it got really mundane, like really fast. And so I still hadn't really like mentally figured out like why I was practicing. I would just practice. And then I would have a spurt where I'd be like, okay, I don't feel like practicing. So I'd practice for like 2 weeks. Then I wouldn't practice for like, or I'd barely practice for like 3 weeks. Like it wasn't consistent. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Consistency is important.
Yeah. And so working, like making sure, like appreciating the work ethic of getting there, and part of that work ethic is the consistency of doing it. So, work ethic. When it comes to practicing and consistency, that's what you were just talking about. In terms to, we haven't gotten to the book, your practice book yet. We're just at,
we're getting there. We're getting there.
So we're at chapter 3 of 10.
No, it's probably like chapter 1 of 5.
The prologue.
We're getting there.
This window looks
so faster. So right now we're at the point where I'm trying to discover purpose in guitar playing, I guess. That's where we're at, okay? So this is like early 2016. Towards the end of 2016, I had quit the band I was playing with.
Because you're too good. Just say because you're too good.
I had a bad experience.
You don't have to. You haven't talked about your bad experiences. You're too good. Okay.
No, I wasn't. Anyway, so I quit that band.
He was still the number 20 Zach Hayes.
I was still number 30 Zach Hayes. And then I think I went straight to playing with this guy. Maybe there was like 2 Craigslist dudes in between or something. But so I went to this guy, and
that's a great album name. 2 Craigslist dudes in between.
Yes. So the 2 Craigslist dudes, and so it was me and this guy, and he was like, "We're gonna form a band. Like, you're my guitar player. Dope. That's great." And then he met this other guy like at the gym or something. He's like, "Yeah, I met this other guy who plays guitar. Like, I want to start a band with him." And we went over there, and I was like, "Cool. Like, that's dope." And I knew like the rhythm parts for a bunch of the songs already, but the other guy didn't know any of them yet. So he was just kind of fiddling over the top. And the guy that I was like doing it with was like, "Yeah, like we'll be a band now. Like you're going to be the rhythm guitar player." Like he delegated that to me. And like, is
that not the worst experience of like being in those bands where some people like have no idea what they're doing and they're just, "Yeah, we're just going to be a band and it'll just work." It's like, what? That's not how it goes.
Yeah, and honestly, like, there's so many other things I could say about this person, but like, but like that was like he just decided that was my role, and for whatever reason, it just irked me. And I'm still really good friends, ironically, with the other guitar player, and he's a really good guitar player, but I was really irked by that.
Because it's right off the bat, it's not like there's no discussion. Yeah, it's not discussion.
Exactly.
It wasn't like any chance to establish that you could be a lead player. It's just like, all right, scrub.
You're the rhythm guitar player because you know the rhythm parts. I felt like
that's a big trap though.
I was really irked because like I spent time learning this stuff. Like I learned the like lead guitar parts too, and then it was just like, boom, that's what you're gonna do. And I was so pissed when I went home that day, and like this was just like a culmination of things. This is how I found my guitar purpose. I was
a revenge story.
I was at the time a junior in college, like a super junior in college, and like I was changing my majors, and like I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was in business, and I was like, "This sucks. I don't want to." Sorry, Kanem, if you're in business.
I'm an engineer, bro.
Okay, all right, that's cool. And I was just like, "This sucks." Like these people, like everyone would show up in like their suits and stuff to class. And I was like, "This isn't me, man." And I was listening.
Nah, I'm not trying to become part of the man. I'm trying to become.
Yeah, trying to stick it to the man. And then
this is the way of the future, the guitar.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I hate big corporations, dude, but Gibson, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, long story to say, I'm sticking it.
Gibson
to
is the greatest business.
Yes, and so I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. So
there goes our endorsement.
And I was listening to. Oh my gosh, you're right. Game over. I stuck it.
Edit it out, guys.
Crap.
Fractal, we still love you.
No, Fractal, that's an ethical business.
Wait, Gibson, we love your guitars. Don't get us wrong. We love your guitars. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes. Leave it at that. Anyways, and so I was reading about Kobe Bryant and like Like, have you ever looked up stories about Kobe Bryant?
I mean,
In what context?
I know 2 stories about him.
I know one
Okay,
not good, and then the rest are legendary.
Well, okay, so I found out about that one like way after the fact. But the story I'm talking about is like there was this night where like they had a game and he lost and he was pissed and he pretty much stayed up all night. Like he went to the gym and just practiced, and he called his coach in the middle of the night and he was like, "Yo, like let's run some stuff." And he stayed up all night, and then he had practice the next morning and he was torching everybody, and then he went to bed. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, he's a freaking superhuman pretty much to do stuff like that. Or like there were stories about him, like apparently he was like a segmented sleeper. So he'd go to sleep for a few hours, wake up in the middle of the night for like twilight time. If you don't know about segmented sleeping, just read about that. That's pretty
I had
cool
a roommate that did that.
Did he? Did it work?
I mean, he watched a lot of Doctor Who and like, I mean, played a lot of games and got good grades, decent grades. But like, I think
it sounds like wasted segment. That sounds like bad sleep schedule, not segmented sleep. Well, anyways, so I was reading this inspirational stuff. That's the point of it, and I was really amped up about it. And I was just like, you know what? Next week I'm gonna start practicing 3 hours a day. Because I had been practicing maybe like an hour a day most when I was like in a good spurt. And I was like, I'm going to start practicing 3 hours a day. And we had just gotten a puppy too, our first dog. And she would be crazy during the day. So I like couldn't practice during the day. So I started getting up at like 4:30 in the morning to practice, which is pretty wild.
No, I feel that. There's, what is it? There's a book called Daily Rituals, but it's basically about a bunch of creatives and what the rituals are for the day. And some people are really great in the morning. Some people are really great late at night. But it did, for a time, inspire me to wake up at like 5 a.m. And it wasn't necessarily practice, but work on a piece of my music, whether it be just practicing, whether it be writing, whether it be going in for a recording take. But wake up 5 a.m., do that thing. For like at least, I kept it easy. Like I keep my goals easy. That's the same reason why typically 15 minutes is like my goal for practicing every day, because that's easy. So I used to wake up at like 5:30, 5 in the morning, and like practice for like 30 minutes, basically.
Well, and like the best part about waking up that early is that like your friends aren't awake to text you. Like there's minimal distractions. Like the dog was still asleep. My girlfriend was asleep. Like everyone was asleep. And I would just practice in silence. My friend Dane wouldn't call me just to annoy me like he does every day. He does it like 8 times a day. He calls me. He's like, "What do you want?" And I go, "What do you want?" And we have this stupid conversation for 20 minutes. And then we hang up. But like, he couldn't do that at 5 in the morning because he's not a morning bird. So,
so what chapter are we at?
We're getting there.
Yes.
So that was the fire.
Chapter 1.
The fire. Like I was getting things done.
You're Kobeing it up.
So I took up basketball, you see? I played professional basketball for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's how you get good.
I actually became a basketball player. Yes, exactly. That's the
and then I realized Michael Jordan didn't need basketball. He could do baseball. So then I became a baseball player.
Okay, you're right. I'm going to skip ahead. So
I didn't mean that. Whoa!
We weren't trying to skip ahead. We just like to add to your story.
No.
Yeah.
The more I was thinking about it, I was like, I should skip ahead. This is going to take forever. So that's how I came up with I'm going to practice 3 hours a day, and that's how I started building consistency because I was like I made the time to make sure I was able to practice. Like even if I would just get like an hour and a half in the morning, then I'd still have more time later to do it. And pretty much, I'd say for the majority of it, I've segmented it into 3 separate hours. And so 1 hour, at least right now, like I'll learn something. So I'll learn like, oh crap, my phone's low battery.
That was like
So,
a
like,
perfect cut.
If you want the rest
I
of it,
learned.
you're gonna have to pay $30.
You gotta pay money, kid. Did you hear what I said?
So 1 hour, you focus on learning.
Yes. Okay. So I learned something, and so lately I've been having a focus month. So I'll take a month on something that I want to focus on. This has been like 2 months. I've been working on alternate picking specifically, but like the month before that, I was working on like country licks, and like the month before that, I was working on like Guns N' Roses songs and stuff.
I shall make
And
you a
so-
fine-tuned robot.
Yeah, yes, and I actually have an Excel spreadsheet too. But that'll cost you $12.88 per year. And-
$5 for the macros.
Yeah, for the macros, kid. No, like I have a list of my stuff in Excel here. I'll
Zach
show you how-
Hayes went to business school.
Let me show you like how convoluted this is. Like,
This is business school.
Preview. Oh my god.
this is my song list.
Guitar is 90% spreadsheets.
That's my master song. Like it's funny how many things I'll do to avoid actually practicing sometimes. But like I have like
this
my
shit
great
loaded
stuff,
into
The
a
realist facts.
my
The
Sadie
realist
set
facts.
list.
The
Like
things we do to avoid practice.
We got this
Like, I
shit in a SQL database ready to.
yeah. Oh, there's my that thing.
Is that your practice candle?
No, that's just holding up my phone. But I do light it during practice sometimes. So first hour I will work
The ceremonial practice candle.
Like, it gets really culty during practice. Yeah, I usually like, sacrifice like a small animal. And
Oh god! And you started this when you got a puppy?
Well, he
I
doesn't
had
have one anymore.
Ooh, that's a little.
just kidding. You heard them. They were barking. Anyways, so first out, I think there's really like extreme value in learning something new every day, even if it's just like a lick from some random dude on Instagram or like just learning a song. Like that's what I usually warm up with too. Like, there's just something really refreshing about it. So then when you go to practice and you're like, crap, 3 hours to practice today, like that part is always just like new and refreshing. And like, even if I'm like, I don't want to pick up my guitar right now, once I put like 10 minutes in, once I'm like 10 minutes in, like I'm having a good time because I'm like interested in what I'm learning usually. And then, right now, I'll devote the second hour to like working on the stuff that I already know. So just kind of like touching up on things. Like it's the repertoire hour. So like if I'm like, crap, I have a gig next week with this band, I haven't played the set list in like a month and a half, like crap, I need to run through these songs. So I'm kind of running through and touching up, making sure that I can play everything correctly still. And then the third hour is usually spent working on things that I suck at. Like licks that I'm just like dog shit bad at. Like I'm working on BOYB right now.
BOYB?
It's crap.
That's how bad I am at it. I can't even pronounce it.
Bring on your booze. Boy, B.
Bring on your bums.
Bring on your bum. Yeah. So I'm working on that, and the latest evolution in my practice routine has been, so like what I was doing for the longest time was practicing things I'm bad at, and I'd get to the point where I suck.
On what?
Like I'd be practicing a lick, right? So I'm like,
what was the word you used? Bad at?
Huh?
You said I was practicing on what?
I don't know.
Never mind.
Well, I'll have to listen back. I actually don't know what I said.
Never mind.
Like I'll be practicing something that I'm bad at.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Bad at, yes. So
I
like,
thought you said I would be practicing in beta, and I was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah,
you
in
got
beta mode before
this segment."
I
Yeah, I was like, "You got
alpha
this segmented into like." So this is what I call my beta practice session, and then I have an alpha practice session.
My alpha, my Charlie, yes. Have I lost
He
you
already,
guys? Like,
he
are you
already
guys,
has 3 practices. You're at 3 practices. I haven't heard this book yet.
well,
We've
so-
seen a spreadsheet. I think that's pretty good.
We're close to the book. We're close
It's
to
a
the book.
workbook, not
The spreadsheet, yeah, right. the spreadsheet is just like my master everything, where I put all of my scrambled thoughts. Like it has like my list of songs that I've learned. Like my master song list that I have in there right now that I like give to people sometimes is at, what was that? 386.
Jesus Christ.
But like I don't remember all of them. They're just like 336.
Like songs you can play fully.
Songs that I
have played
fully at some point.
Mine's like 3.85. Like
you'd be
only
surprised.
3.85 songs. Come on.
You should do it. Make a list and like see what you know. It's kind of fun. I spent like an hour not practicing doing that. It's great.
Well, yeah, when did we get to guitar?
I like you gave us like the exact reason why not to make a list. It doesn't matter.
It's great. Yeah. No, totally.
You know what? It's not going to matter because you're going to have to play the song that they're going to ask you to play if you're doing what you're doing.
This is like,
it doesn't matter what song I already did.
I watched this like YouTube video that was like a John Petrucci DVD from the 90s that's super famous. And I was like, you know what? I'll take a stab at this shit. And like the first 20 minutes, he didn't even have like a guitar. And he's just like, he's doing hand massages and he's like doing the, like, and I was like, oh, this is a fucking ripoff. But then the minute he gets a guitar, the first thing was just like holding it. And I was like, okay, when is this going to pick up? And like already 2 minutes in, it gets so hard. And I was like, oh man, all that buildup was like, I guess, like necessary.
Like crap.
Because I was like, when does this actually happen? And then I was like, oh shit, okay, no, there's some crazy shit in here. I should have enjoyed the Excel part while I could before I get to the actual guitar part because I won't know how to do it.
So I'll get to my journal for your sake because like I have so much more like useful information that I could give you or useless.
We have to pay for it.
But like the information makes perfect sense to me, but you guys are probably like, what?
You're telling the story. Like, I understand the trajectory is that all of this.
Yeah, but do you think I'm crazy now?
I don't think
Based on the data that I have entered into my Excel, I've got a forecast model built out to see what riffs I could learn. It's like, holy shit. And that's how I plan my monthly...
Yeah, I got issues. All right,
man, it's just more just like I'm just like, wow, that's a lot of dedication I don't have.
Prabhu, you're like insert MIDI file.
Yeah,
Zach is like insert complete fucking software for how to.
You gotta use VLOOKUPs.
Yeah,
no one has used Excel to do so much.
Zach's got like somehow he's made like a graphical thing in Excel with tabs. With like he just like enters them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zach's first sponsorship is going to be Excel. Zach's first.
I'm down to do it.
VBA session.
So the last like probably 2 months I started doing this. I will write down. This is a page I ripped out of my little journal, but this is things I want to do this week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And can you read us, or is it backwards?
It's backwards. No, it's forward. Sorry, I'm
forward.
backwards.
Okay. So, like, let's see.
QA testing for Excel spreadsheet.
QA testing logarithm. So,
Social Security number.
For this week, I have 3 sections that I'm working on. So my 3 hour-long segments, right?
Yeah.
Hour to each section. So the top one is the priority section. So these are things that I'm like, crap, I really need to get this done. Next week, my Prabhu solo is going to be in the priority section because I'm so far behind on it. So I had run my Great Scott set list because I had a Great Scott show this week, and I had to remember how to play all the songs. What else do I got on here? This is the important part. So this section is alternate picking. So I have Anastasia here, and I've been pretty much setting like really obtainable goals every week. So like I had like kind of figured out like where my limit was with the Anastasia riff. It was like when I first learned it, like 90 to 100. So I was like, okay, next week I want to be able to play it at 110 beats per minute, which is the actual tempo of it.
Okay.
And by play it, I mean I want to be able to get through it. It doesn't have to be like perfect, but I want to be able to survive it and not have it sound like total anus. So I achieved that last week. So this week I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to go up to 110 beats per minute, which is like, okay, wow, it's only 10 beats per minute. But like when you're at your limit and it's like those 10 beats per minute, like that's a really big jump, at least for me.
No,
So
it's a big jump.
Yeah.
So like, and like I'm only putting in like 15 minutes to work on this song, to try to get to that, like push to that tempo. And I have found at least like writing out what you want to achieve every week helps. You don't always get it, but it definitely has helped. Like it just kind of organizes your brain to like actually, I don't even know how to describe it. You just have to do it.
You manifest
Just write
your
down
goals.
Like what?
You manifest your goals.
I manifest my goals. Yeah, that's totally what I'm doing. And that's totally it.
I should be your like writer for this book. I can write about it. I can't achieve half of these things, but I can write about it.
The life
I'll
of
be the
Zach
narrator
with Prabhu
and Kanem. Kanem is the narrator. Zach is the IT guy.
The Excel specialist. Okay, well, very last thing I want to say about practicing that I've discovered that has been working very well in the past probably 2 months also is treating your guitar hands like muscles. So considering things like recovery and hydration, like when your body is like operating on all facets, like I probably sound insane. That's fine.
No, you don't.
No,
It's definitely at that point though. It's like, hey guys, you want to play guitar? Drink water.
Yeah. I was going to mention hydration after this, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's like a huge revelation for me.
It's things that you don't like. You don't like. You
I don't
like.
Ever
why
think
would I have
water.
to think about drinking water? But it's like there have been days, and like I never consciously realized it until recently, where I'm like, crap, I didn't drink any water, and I just suck at guitar today. And like maybe that's why, because my hands are
water.
Just, like,
what a cop out.
Like, it's like SpongeBob, and like my hands are like.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, I realized I like had a moment where I was like, I've been chronically dehydrated. I think most of my life, and like, I noticed.
Why does my urine always smell like asparagus?
It's not supposed to be blood orange. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, oh.
It's like.
The blood orange moon rises.
Yeah.
Yes.
I noticed that yesterday with my when I was practicing and my hands, or then when it's cold, like and my hands get dried out and stuff. Like I put on lotion, but then I was like, oh my god, I've been practicing like some finger picking stuff because we're playing at a wedding, and I was like, oh my god, I'm like slipping everywhere. But like the hydration thing, it changes even just like my comfort because that was something that like. I noticed with playing live, I always felt dehydrated, and or even when practicing with other people. And like this is probably the weirdest thing, but like before shows in college, like one of my rituals was to shave like my beard because it hydrated my face, and like I felt so much better when I would shave and then play guitar because I felt like not this. Dried out like grape or whatever. I or like a raisin. Like you definitely notice a difference in how like limber like your fingers are. It's weird.
I've even like noticed it like there's days where I'm like so good at guitar. Like I'm like doing things that I've never done before. I'm like and like for 2 hours straight, I'm like, wow, why am I playing so well right now? Like you're playing so fast, like so much faster than you normally play, and you're like, this was like the best day ever. And then you go like you don't sleep well or something, or you don't drink water, and you wake up the next day and you're like, I can't even play like at my normal speeds. Like I really suck today. And like trying to consciously figure out like causes for things, like has also like I've noticed like I've been starting to be able to figure out why I suck at guitar on specific days, and like. The things that help me play better on other days.
I definitely noticed that too with even like weight loss, like and mostly with standing up and playing because like during COVID, I've lost, I've shed some pounds, and like it's actually helped me play when I stand up, or I feel like lighter. I feel that like I have more energy to play the guitar versus before. And then even, I mean, that helps with the cuts of the guitar and stuff too. But like, yeah, little things like that. It's weird how it like, I think that's why too, finding a guitar that like feels right in your hands is important too. Cause like stuff,
Yeah.
I notice I practice very different on like my Ernie ball versus my SG versus all the other stuff. Cause it's like conducive to different playing. So then like under different circumstances, I'm more likely to practice a certain thing.
Also like treating your guitar hands, like it goes with guitar hands being like muscles and stuff. Like, so sleep is important, like recovery, but also I found that when I'm practice something, like I'm trying to get out of like my speed boundaries or like my speed barriers, like to push to become faster at things, I would spend, like if I was practicing something for 15 or 20 minutes, I would spend 20 minutes just like trying to play it like over and over and over again, like just constantly on a loop. And like my hands would be exhausted and like it wouldn't be productive. But I found that I will now, when I'm trying to get faster or something, I will get to my breaking point. I'll play it like twice until I start to feel a little bit of fatigue. And then I literally put my pick down and I just don't touch the guitar for a minute. And then when I go to pick up, like I can start breaking through that speed barrier a lot easier.
That's huge because like I think we had talked about it before, and you were telling me about that, and that's something I want to start doing. And I think it, for me, I don't know if you've ever got to a point where you're practicing something on loop so much that, you know, when you say a word like
it just sounds weird.
It
feels weird.
Or like you stared at the same thing. Like I'll get to that where, especially when there was one riff, I think it's called No More Hollywood Endings. It's this band Haley showed me, but it goes like, it's something like that. It's a lot of weird jumping and that kind of stuff. And like, remember practicing that on loop, and then I was like, where are my hands? Like after a point, I'm just like, I feel like I'm like everything's just jumbled and lost. And I think the best thing at that point is just like, don't touch it, just leave it, go for a walk, like take the dog out, come back, then like take a deep breath and do it. Because otherwise, it's just like it's a mental thing too. It's like you're trying to learn something subconscious, or you're trying to build muscle memory, and like I feel like there is that fatigue that comes along with that. And that's why I find it easier to write my own stuff that's hard rather than playing someone else's thing that's hard, because I don't have to put in that muscle memory learning in some way. But
makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the playing something on repeat can like make something like sound very odd. You like start to overthink it, and you start to think like, does it sound right, or do certain things sound right? I sometimes get into the idea of like, oh, does this sound like too muddy? And it's like, I'm playing it on a clean guitar, on my rhythm pickup. Like, how could it sound, or even on my treble, how could this sound muddy? Like, I'm overthinking it. Like, does it sound good? Does it sound fine? Are you happy with it?
mm-hmm.
So yeah, but like I've been, working on like my practice routine, and I find it interesting because I feel like there's parts both of yours, Zach, and yours, Prabhu, like your practice routines that I kind of try to stay true to, where I don't do 3 hours. I try to do at least 15 minutes every day. And so I try to do at least 15 minutes because I'm not doing like the work that you have to do. You don't have to produce I don't have to produce my results the same way you do, Zach, where you have to play a gig. So, but with that, it's important, like the intention part of it is something I've always done. So I kind of split up my intention into when I'm actually practicing into what is this for? Is it going to be for recording, or is it going to be for playing a gig, right? And I think those are the only two real categories a lot of my practice goes into. sometimes it will be a little bit of like trying to fine tune my skills, but that sort of fine tuning of just like my skills, I typically try to put that in my warm up. The two things I do for a warm up before I actually play is either learn something, and normally what I'm learning is probably something very simple. Normally just chords to a song that I like, and maybe just singing along to it a little bit, and then and sometimes it's a lick or it's a riff or something. That is what I will do for my warm up, and or I will do like a rudimentary warm up. Like I just did a video where I was doing my not mine, but just arpeggios. I do a lot of arpeggio. I have a full arpeggio thing where I go A minor, G, A minor, and then go up and down and just really work it. But the arpeggio goes from, your low E string to your high E string. Oh, wow. I just do that. I do that a couple places. I really try to use a metronome with it because I feel like over the years, I never really used a metronome while I practice. And I think that's made like the biggest difference in my playing, or can make the biggest difference in anyone's playing, is really like, let me just play this a metronome. I'm going to have to play it with a drummer. I'm going to have to play it against something anyways. Chords are great to play against, but I really have to click into like a band playing at some point. So why don't I just build that into my practice? So the metronome has been the biggest thing, I think, recently. But really, it's just down to, after the warm up, it's really down to, is this for performing or is this for recording? And the reason why I kind of put that in a different category than maybe just picking up the play, because there's plenty of times where I just pick up the play. I just pick up the play, and I do that quite often just because I like having my guitars out. Do that quite often. It's kind of just like scratching an itch. It's not really providing anything. And I think that's where I separate just picking up the play from a practice, where a practice has an intention. Even writing, like, I don't consider any time I'm writing as a practice, because I'm just that's kind of just picking through something and trying to develop something. And that's a little bit different. I'm not truly trying to hone it in. I'm not trying to play on time. I'm not trying to do great chord changes. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to like express myself, find an idea here. So those two things are different from actual practice for me. And gig practice normally ends up being, here's my set list. And normally I will try to set aside time for a gig practice where I'm doing that a couple different times. So the different times I'd kind of equate it to is I do one just before the gig, like not right before, but like typically the day before the gig. I try to set aside time where I by myself am practicing. The day before, like the dress rehearsal of the band, I try to set aside time where I am practicing the full set list by myself, including, I normally do improvised solos, so including making sure I'm working on those improvised solos, not to have like a solid idea down, but maybe have some ideas that I want to use, as well as making sure it's coming off as clean as possible and not like really messy. So those are the things I kind of do to organize myself for a gig practice. Those are the kind of things I do for that. And then recording practice is a lot more. That's where I really get into like using the metronome, is for this section, how fast am I playing it? And I do kind of what you do, Zach. But I kind of think about like percent BPM. So like, am I playing at 100%, 90%, 110%? I guess I don't really think in percent, because I just kind of, my goal always is to play like 10 BPM faster than the song. Some songs like I actually need to pay attention to that. Other songs is like, if I'm just doing chord strumming, I don't really need to think about BPM and going 10 faster, because there's a lot more feel to that, where the precision really is in the chord changes and not really the strumming pattern in itself. So I'll do a lot of BPM practice when it comes to a song. But really, I kind of divided up my practice into like 2 to 3 minutes of a warm-up with a metronome, increasing the speed on something, or just kind of trying to learn something real quick, like some chords or a quick lick. And trying to do, if it's a lick, it'll probably be like BPM practice, like using a metronome. And then if it's chords, obviously, I'm just kind of just warming up my hand. And then after that, it's really just trying to keep with a metronome for like the recording stuff. But that's just kind of how I use practice. But I know for me, it's developed over time. And ever since you showed your notebook, one of the things I had to break down and think about more is about during these times, how am I practicing? What am I practicing for? I'm not practicing for gigs right now because that's just not what I'm trying to be involved in right now. So a lot of my practice ends up being recording based. So the only thing I do different is I don't necessarily set out a week in advance my practice for that day or for that week, like the things I'm going to focus on. I just leave a blank checkbox and a blank line, and I have multiple of these in a row for the week. I can either mark an X in the checkbox and write what I did, or I can put a 0 next to it. So by the end of the week, I can take a look and be like, okay, I'm saying I want to finish this song. I want to do these recordings, right? Did I do something for my recording process in general? I'm just checking to see if I did or didn't. And then what did I specifically do? And if I'm seeing I'm repeating too much stuff, like, oh, I keep on playing like a rhythm part against a metronome and getting fast at that. If I've been doing that a lot and I'm good at it, scale back on that. Try to focus on a different part of that song, or try to start focusing on another song for the practice. Leave it for the recording to actually get it done. So that's kind of how I saw your process of writing something down and really try to like develop that, hopefully into my own way that works. I've only been doing it for like the last week, but I thought that was like really encouraging, and I'm happy you shared that. Right. Any last things on practice or anything like that? That's it. All the words of wisdom.
Consistency.
That does go a long way.
Consistency and intent.
Work smart, not more.
Work smart and hard.
Well, I think working hard, but I think working smart over working more, to me personally, is more valuable.
Agreed.
And with that, Mr. Raghunathan, please play us away.
Raghunathan, dog.
Raghunathan. Well, thank you for correcting me. Raghunathan.
Is it me?
Ain't for nothing, Raghunathan. Play us away.
And they floated off into the abyss. Let's see if we can get the higher one.
Happy Halloween. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was very Halloween-like.
Thank you, friends.